culturally and historically, wow, Ireland, everyone's fascinated by Ireland and all the stories and all the tales. And there's something even about singers. You listen to Damien Rice and you go, bloody hell, there's something about just the fact that he's Irish and he's got something there. It's a remarkable thing. And I suppose that is another thing that is just simply, that's going to be lost now.
Yeah, I think when you import a large number of people from a different culture into your own, there's often lots of things written into the small print of that aren't immediately apparent. And one of them is that in the society that we have, that often comes with social re-engineering programs of one kind or another, where you want to just make the population a bit more sensitive to the racial etiquette of race relations. And so Ireland has appointed a race czar, who is a woman that seems to find racism as a sort of miasmic force that's everywhere and nowhere at once. And
is that the name of her role?
She's the race envoy, or it's something very pompous. And
I hate these people, but go on.
And so I've no love lost with me either. But I read recently that she accused a Galway hotel publicly of racism after she was served a Ribena instead of a glass of red wine.
Oh, so is she black or something?
Yes.
Okay, and they gave a Ribena to screw with her for something.
I don't know, but I very much doubt it.
The thing is, she's now in a job where she has to keep finding racism, otherwise she doesn't.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
The supply needs to meet the demand, and so there's little cultural affronts like that, which the Irish people are paying essentially to be re-educated by often quacks with a PhD in race studies.
How is wokeness in Ireland?
Wokeness has essentially replaced the Catholic Church as the dominant sort of form of ethics in Ireland.
Shit.
Especially in the cities, in the cosmopolitan parts of Ireland, there's a lot of it.
Okay. Is it one of the wokest countries in the world? Is it one of those?
I'd say it's up there. It's not quite Canada, but it's hot. It's in hot pursuit.
Yeah, it's these countries, Canada. I've heard Iceland, someone I was going to interview was telling me Iceland, he's from Iceland. He said it's now the wokest country in the world. These large countries, progressive, haven't necessarily had they weren't big on the world stage. They wanted to be, as you were saying about Sweden, what was it? What were they? They were going to be
the moral superpower.
Yeah, everybody's sort of vying for that position. If you're not going to be a political or economic superpower, let's all vie. It works with the status game as well. I always talk about Will Storr's status game, that there's 3 types of status that we all try to get on an individual level. The best one would be success, because evolutionarily, if you were successful and you made a fire or whatever, you'd be given more of the food and shelter because you're needed, you're successful. So we're incentivized to be successful, but not everybody can be. So if you're not able to be successful, whether that's as an individual or on the world stage, there are 2 other options for you. One is to be dominant. A lot of men do this. It's sort of the toxic masculinity, they might call it. But women do it as well, of course. And countries do it. They're dominant. They haven't maybe done that much successfully economically, but they want to dominate in other ways. The other way is virtue. By if you could show your tribe that you were nice and you were sharing things, they would share things with you. So it does feel like the macro equivalent of that on the world stage is countries that couldn't have the same economic impact as others, but are now going to be, okay, we're going to be the moral superior virtue signalers. And so that's what sort of woke stuff are we seeing in Ireland?
Yeah, that's very interesting. You can see that with countries around the world. With Ireland, you get... For example, Leo Varadkar, almost berated the Irish Parliament a few years ago about the shocking whiteness of the Irish civil service and people in Irish public life. And it was kind of similar to that video of Humza Yousaf doing the same, but slightly less gung-ho. And, he said, the Department of Education is mostly white. This is mostly white. That's mostly white. And, he said, well, this doesn't reflect Irish society. And, some people might say, well, you're slightly rigging the deck there, because you're creating a society that then creates the demand for these kind of things. Or justifies these kind of social re-engineering projects. And so
and means that though that first generation, many of whom won't even speak the language, are expected to hold high positions. It's one of the issues when Hamza Youssef, whenever these people talk about this, why isn't the demographic reflected in high positions, the minister of police? I mean, how many people can go to a new country, start a new life, and they're the minister of police immediately? It takes generations for different people. Really, we should be looking at the demographics of a country, how it was 30, 40 years ago, if we're going to look at people who are at the top. And even then, you're still talking about a first generation person. I mean, you don't have the same contacts, you don't have the same kinds of hooks in a country. It takes generations.